They say variety is the spice of life, but is it also the spice of a healthy life? How many different foods do you need to eat to stay healthy? Well, we, my friend, are about to find out. Welcome to the Exam Room Live, brought to you by the Physicians Committee. Hello. I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. Thank you so very much for watching and downloading in more than 150 countries around the world and making the Exam Room one of the most consumed nutrition podcasts anywhere on the planet today. So, you taught to eat the rainbow. You get a nutrient here, you get a nutrient there, you eat the rainbow, and eventually it all adds up. But is it possible to quantify how many different types of food you need to be eating every single week to maximize your health? That is our goal today, to get that number, and we're turning to the Gut Health MD himself, the pharaoh of fiber, the best-selling author, the man with the master class and the master knowledge when it comes to your health. Dr. Will Bulsiewicz is in the house, and if you have a question for Dr. B, go ahead, post it in the comments or in the chat, and we will do our best to get to as many as we can on this or an upcoming episode. And with that, we do welcome our good friend, the Gut Health MD himself, Dr. Will Bulsiewicz. Welcome back to the show, my man.
Thank you, Chuck. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone.
My man, so this topic today, as far as variety being the spice of a healthy life, this was actually from a viewer by the name of Holly who wrote in, and she said, how much variety do we need in our diet to be healthy? How much do we need for a healthy gut? Because she says, Dr. B, she really tends to eat the same things every day, even though they are, in fact, healthy foods.
Many of us do that, Chuck. We're creatures of habit, we enjoy the meals that we are familiar with, and we don't like rocking the boat in terms of necessarily having to figure out how to cook a new thing. But at the same time, these are the laws of nature, and we have to recognize that, biologically, we come from a place where we evolved not shopping at supermarkets and cooking on a stove and having limitations in terms of what the food system is providing to us. We come from a place, Chuck, where we were gatherers. We were out there picking up and, finding our food. And there are 300,000 edible plants on this planet. And we were consuming a wide variety of them. And now here we are, and our food system wants to kind of contract this down to 70 or 75% of the calories that come from plants in your supermarket come from just 3 plants: wheat, corn, and soy. And that's not trashing those foods, by the way. Wheat, corn, and soy specifically. It's more so that our food system is trying to consolidate into a limited number of plants. So if we want to eat a wide variety, it has to come from us. We have to be the ones to make that choice.
All right, now let's quantify that. So you've got wheat, corn, soy. That's 3, but I'm guessing, man, to really maximize that health, get it to the next level, you're going to need that by many multiples here. I've seen the number 30 thrown around quite a bit when it comes to diversity in the diet. Is that the magic number every 7 days?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. That's a very good question. In some ways, this is the magic number. It's nice to sort of in your mind have a threshold of where you're trying to get to. And this is coming from the actual science that shows us that eating a wide variety is in fact the right choice in terms of supporting a healthy gut. We're talking about the American Gut Project, Chuck. Any person who's read one of my books, or you've listened to me on podcasts, or frankly have been tuning into the Exam Room and the conversations that you and I have, they've heard me talk about diversity of plants. And this concept comes from the American Gut Project, which was actually an international study, not just the United States. More than 11,000 people, more than 15,000 microbiome specimens. And they ultimately put these numbers into an equation. And they allowed that equation to basically spit out and tell us what predicts a healthy gut above anything else. And the answer to that question was the diversity of plants in your diet, specifically the people who were consuming more than 30 plants per week had the healthiest guts in the study. And this is an important point because honestly, regardless of what dietary pattern you followed, this was important. So whether you were vegan or pescatarian or vegetarian or an omnivore, either way, eating 30 different varieties of plants per week was the factor that was associated with the healthiest guts. And I think that's an important message for people.
Let's kind of unpack that a little bit further because I think back to the old 10,000 calorie a day, Chuck, and I'm like trying in my mind to add up the number of plants that I was eating. And certainly it was nowhere near what I am today. But just by the sheer volume of food, there was in fact a wide variety there. So is it possible to get that same kind of biodiversity that you're talking about, regardless of whether or not you're eating junk food or you're really eating that healthy diet like a lot of us listening and watching today are trying to eat? I would imagine my gut, if you go under the hood and look at the microbiome then versus now, looking much different.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about that, Chuck. There's no doubt about that. And I think to your point, let's take the 10,000 calories as an example. I mean, yes, to consume 10,000 calories, you're eating a lot of food, and as a part of that, you may have had variety within your diet. But let's think about it a bit like putting things on a scale of balance. And on that scale of balance, you can overweight the negative side, the side that includes, you know, ultra processed foods that are filled with additives that in many cases we don't know what they do, but in some cases, many cases, we discover that these additives that are put into ultra processed foods are in fact causing harm to our microbiome or in fact causing harm to our body in some other way. So you can overload it with ultra processed foods. You can overload it with things that contain zero fiber, such as animal products. And, on the case of animal products, that includes ones that are of even worse nutritional value because they're somewhere between ultra processed and animal products, and that would be the processed meats. So when we think about it, like you could have this type of food that's making up the majority of your diet, and that actually is what's happening in the United States as we speak right now. So 60% of calories in the United States come from ultra processed foods. And about 20% of our calories come from animal products. And it's leaving behind only 10%, which is the type that we actually want. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, seeds, nuts, and legumes. Because those whole plant foods contain the fiber, the polyphenols, the phytochemicals, and yes, they also contain the protein and the healthy fats and the vitamins and the minerals, the things that we're looking for. So everything that you really need is ultimately on this side over here. But the problem is, like, we have really disproportionately messed up the scale when we're weighing it down with 90% of our calories coming from stuff that is not the food that actually feeds our microbiome. And so what we want to do is we want to lift off of this side, the side that's weighing us down. We want to lift off of this side and put it over here on the side that's good. This is why I preach a diet that is 70, 80, 90, or 100% plant-based. Because when we do this, anytime you start cranking up your plant-based intake, you are by default going to be removing stuff from the side that's weighing you down in a negative way.
All right. So let me ask you this then. Somebody signs up, say, for your masterclass on your website, and they send you a message or they hit you up with your weekly meetings and they say, well, hey, is my gut getting any sort of the benefit from the corn that's, say, in like, I don't know, a Dorito versus the corn that is on that corn on the cob, so to speak? How does the gut treat that differently? And would you even count that corn that was in the Dorito toward the number of different plants that you're eating every week?
I would not count that towards the number of plants that you're eating in a given week. And that the reason why is because I can't count foods that are ultra processed foods. The number of ingredients for corn should be 1. And I don't know how many ingredients there are in a bag of Doritos. It's been a while since I've had Doritos. But I'm pretty sure, seriously, I'm pretty sure if you check it, there's at least 10 ingredients. Corn is one of them. And then here's all this other stuff. And what does that other stuff even do? Frankly, in most cases, we just don't know. And it's not fair, from my perspective, it's not fair to take animal model studies where that happens for a week. You feed the animal whatever it is for a week, and the animal's still alive, so you say the food is safe. That is not the same as a human being exposed to this food a couple times a week for decades. It is not the same. So I think that like we have to separate. We can't like accept ultra processed foods as the same as being whole foods. And the other thing that I want to add real quick, Chuck, is that there's a difference between ultra processed and processed. So ultra processed is when, I mean, to make it as simple as possible, you are creating food that has to be created in a food laboratory by a food scientist, that it is not possible for you to create ultra processed foods in the convenience of your own kitchen. What
All
is
right.
possible, sorry, Chuck.
No,
What
go
is
ahead, man.
possible is to produce processed foods. And processed can mean a lot of different things. And that can include cooking the food. That can include chopping the food, right? Like these are basic things that we do to our food. When we process our food, the food does in fact change. But when we process it to the point that corn stops being corn, it's not even recognizable. And it's now been transformed into this chip. That we have taken that food to a point where the fiber is not the same. The polyphenols are like, if they're there at all, they're barely there. Basically, we've stripped the nutritional value, and what we've now done is added in these chemicals.
Even if the ingredient, in this case in a Dorito, corn is the first ingredient listed, meaning it's the most prevalent ingredient in the entire food, it's been bastardized. Sorry, apologize for the language. It's been bastardized to the point where your gut basically is not going to recognize it as anything anywhere close to that original corn that was grown from the ground.
First of all, I accept your apology, Chuck. Second of all, the thing about it is let's keep in mind that there are many things that we are exposed to on a routine basis that micrograms or milligrams can be all that we need, can be too much or more than we need. So the fact that corn is the first ingredient, and then all these other chemicals that are added in milligrams or even micrograms, again, it may still be enough to be completely problematic for your gut microbes. And there is no requirement by the Food and Drug Administration to test the effects of food on the microbiome prior to these chemicals or these foods being added to our food system. So this type of testing does not exist.
All right, and just for grins here before we move on here and take another question, I pulled up the list of ingredients for Doritos on my handy dandy phone here. Let's you tell me from the gut health perspective how healthy this is. Mind you, there are by my count 27 ingredients, some of which are themselves made up of multiple ingredients. So we have corn.
Okay, I got that. I have that in my kitchen.
All right, vegetable oil, which is a blend of corn, canola, and sunflower oil.
Don't love it, but I do have that in my kitchen.
Maltodextrin, made from corn. Don't have that one. Salt, cheddar cheese, which is...
I mean, you could get that.
Yeah. Then they have whey, monosodium glutamate, aka MSG, buttermilk, Romano cheese, whey protein concentrate.
I mean, it's unnatural. You have to be able to, you can get that, but it's unnatural.
Onion powder, corn flour. This is so vague. I never like these natural and artificial flavors, and they never tell you anything else, man. It is a guessing game. Dextrose is in there.
Okay, sugar.
Tomato powder.
Okay, fair. I'm up to 10.
Lactose.
No, that's isolated. Okay.
Spices. That's all they say, spices. They don't tell you what kind. They just say spices. Artificial color. And would you like to take a stab? We'll set the over-under on how many different artificial colors there are in this.
Oh, dear. Just tell me.
Three. Three's a good number. So you've got two shades of yellow. You've got both yellow number 6 and yellow number 5 from the Crayola box, as well as red number 40. Yeah.
I know yellow number 5 is definitely problematic for the gut microbiome. I believe red number 40 is as well.
Good to know. Lactic acid, citric acid, sugar, garlic powder.
You already had dextrose.
Yeah.
You need to have sugar too.
Pile it on. Skim milk, red and green bell pepper powder, disodium inosinate. I don't know that one. And disodium guanylate. I don't know that one either. But that's it, man. There's your 27.
Okay, so I mean, there's hypothetically like about 10 ingredients, most of which are powders and are in and of themselves pretty darn processed, if not borderline ultra processed in their own right. But then you have all of this stuff that is just like, I don't even know what is going on there. Seriously, and it gets turned into a chip, and I was raised in the 80s, and this is the food that we ate. I mean, this is the food that I ate growing up.
Oh, you
The problem is, I think that we made a mistake. We made the assumption that it was perfectly fine.
You know what blows my mind is for how much they tout corn with these. Like these are corn tortilla chips. The amount of fiber that's in this is scant.
Yeah, how much?
1 gram per serving. So just
How many servings in there?
1 ounce serving is about 12 chips. So that's one of those like 99-cent bag type deals that you would get at a gas station. But, who eats just one of those, right? Most of us will get the family size bag and just go to town.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
1 gram of fiber.
Yeah. So like literally you can get one of those big bags, say it's got like 5 servings in it, and you're still only getting 5 grams despite the fact that it's a corn product.
Right. Exactly. Or you could eat a quarter of a cup of beans and have more fiber.
Just saying. Hey, but you know what? Let's not shortchange the red and green bell pepper powder that was in there as well. That's got to have some fiber too, right? Come on.
Yeah, and the multiple shades of yellow, because one shade of yellow is apparently not enough. We need more.
Right. Yellow number 6 in particular is fiber fueled. I mean, it's just so much.
Don't put those things together. I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That didn't look bad. There is 0 fiber in yellow number 6, people. That was just tongue in cheek as it gets, man. Oh, man. So bottom line is this, right? Somebody starts to work with you and somebody wants to clean up their health, Dr. B. I'm like, all right, right now, even though I eat a pretty healthy diet, I'm really only eating about 15 or so different plants a week. How would you recommend them beginning to introduce and ramping up that amount where you're like, well, just double it up. Variety is the spice of life. Just go crazy and see what you like. Or have you found that a more methodical approach to ramping things up is the best approach?
Well, I'm very open to the fact that there are many different approaches to this question that you're asking me. And certain people, what makes sense to me may not make sense to everyone. There's some people who are like, I want to go all in all at once. Right? And if that's the way you are, then go for it. We want more plants. What I don't want is you to start aggressively transforming your diet and then not feeling well because it was sort of too much of a change too fast. Not feeling well and then being like, oh, this plant-based thing, like Dr. B is full of it. Dr. B has told me to eat this diet thinking it's going to improve my gut, and it's made my gut less healthy. That's not true. Your gut just needs an opportunity to adapt to the dietary changes in the same way that when you go to the gym, you don't just like instantly start lifting the heaviest weights. You ease your body into it. You work towards that goal over a period of time. So, Chuck, if you're the type of person who's eating 15 plants per week, I want you to know, first of all, that's about 3 times more than I was eating about 10 years ago. And you should start at 15 and start to work your way up slowly. So just look for opportunities this week to add a couple of new things to your diet. And if we get it up to 20 or 25, somewhere in that range, gosh, you should feel really good about yourself because you've made progress. And progress is a path. You are walking the path towards improvement where you will cross the line of 30 and it just may not happen instantly. But slowly over the course of time, Chuck, you get to 30. Why would you stop at 30? There's no, just because the study said 30 doesn't mean you should stop at 30. Why not 35? Why not 40? Every single plant has its own unique mix of fiber, phytochemicals, polyphenols, vitamins, minerals, protein, healthy fats that are intended to support your body, to nurture your body, to make it more healthy. And so as a result of that, when we consume a wide variety of plants and we mix them together, we are really truly creating a diet that is unstoppable. Because the more variety that you have, the more that you got your bases covered with as many different nutrients as possible.
Let's take a question from Slim, who sent this one in ahead of time. Interesting one. They're wondering in particular about the difference between brown and white rice for gut health. Before you answer that, just out of curiosity, would you count each one of those as an individual plant in that weekly tally, or are they virtually the same thing here?
Well, white rice. So, look, in some ways, we're splitting hairs a little bit.
Right.
So, like, I wouldn't want a person, for example, to go and buy Dave's Killer Bread, which, by the way, I like, but buy Dave's Killer Bread, which, advertises that it's got 21 different plants in every single slice. And you eat one slice and then you say, I'm already up to 21, Dr. B. Like, that's not the way that this works. And you're shortchanging yourself, right? Because it's not about scores, it's about actually your body and achieving better health. And so when you look at this choice, brown rice and white rice, there is a difference. Actually, the differences are kind of interesting. So part of it is that when we create white rice, we actually are stripping away a lot of the fiber, stripping away a lot of the additional nutrients, stripping away a lot of the protein. What you end up with is more of a starchy, like pure starch, pure carbohydrate form that's very low in fiber. Very easy for people to digest, for people that have digestive health problems. It's much easier to digest than brown rice is going to be. That being said, brown rice, higher in fiber, higher in protein, higher in vitamins and minerals, actually also can be a little bit higher. This is going to perhaps, like, I want to unpack this, a little bit higher in arsenic. So arsenic is a heavy metal that is found in the ground and it can concentrate in rice. And so with brown rice, it concentrates a little bit more than it does with white rice. This doesn't scare me off. I don't stop consuming brown rice as a result of this. What I do is I diversify my grain sources so that I'm not consuming brown rice every single day. I consume it once in a while. I like other grains more, to be honest with you. Farro, quinoa, sorghum, teff, amaranth. Those are just a couple.
Interesting. Yeah, we get that question about arsenic and brown rice actually quite a bit. Is it possible to say, well, you should limit it to 2 servings a week, 3 servings a week, 1 serving a week? Like, what is your comfort level?
That's a good question. I haven't spent enough time in the data to say that here is the number. I think from my perspective, if you're having 3 servings a week of brown rice, to me, it would suggest that you probably have an opportunity to diversify and add some other stuff in there. Because that to me would be quite a bit. So 1 serving a week of brown rice, I'm really not worried about at all. Again, I haven't spent enough time digging into the data to give a hard number, but to me, it's about looking for diversity.
All right, let's go ahead and broaden up the scope of the conversation here today. A lot has been made of artificial sweeteners recently. I'm sure that you've seen a lot of this stuff in the news, on the blogs recently, right, on artificial sweeteners. So Joe certainly has gotten caught up in that, and she is wondering what impact a lot of these artificial sweeteners we've been hearing so much about, what impact do they have on gut health?
Well, they're certainly not beneficial. I mean, I think that's the important point. There are people who will make compelling arguments for why we should have artificial sweeteners in our food supply, because they're comparing them as a substitute for sugar, and that's a quite debatable topic. Like, what's worse, artificial sweeteners or sugar? And that, to me, that question is a bit silly. Why either? Why do we have to go there? Why can't we go without? Why can't we look at more whole food based alternatives? So I think the point from my perspective is that looking, like a classic example, Chuck, is beverages. And the reason why is because, like, I used to be probably a 2-liter Diet Mountain Dew habit per day back in the day. Were you a big soda drinker, Chuck?
I would not consider myself to be a big soda drinker, but man, when you said Diet Mountain Dew, I immediately flashed back to when they released that, and the soda company Pepsi sent so many cases of that to the radio station where I was working, and I got hooked on that in a hurry, man. I was pounding like 4 cans a day
Yeah.
until those supplies were depleted.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're used to like consuming these beverages, like these beverages are designed to boost your energy, to taste good, for you to want more of them, to be hyper palatable, right? Like this is literally what they're designed to be. So the problem is, Chuck, is that when we consume these beverages, we're not just doing this once in a while. The vast majority of people who are doing this is a routine thing. This is potentially a daily thing. This is potentially multiple times a day. That's when things become problematic because you are repeatedly exposing your microbiome to whatever is in that product when you are consuming it multiple times per day. Now, I am a coffee drinker. I'm very open like about my love, my passion for drinking coffee. I do it every single day. There are some people, by the way, who it's not for them, and I get that, and we can talk about that if you want to. But the key here is that I used to be 2 to 3 packets of Splenda every single day in every single coffee drink, and that was if you started adding it up at the end of a week, just in my coffee consumption, we're talking about double digits exposure to Splenda during the course of a week, and I got rid of it. And at first, I didn't really like it when I got rid of it because my body was very adapted to the taste of sweetness. That's what I wanted. That's what I was craving. So it took me a while to get used to the bitterness without that sweetness being there. But honestly, once I adapted to it, it took me probably 6 weeks. I never turned back. I actually have zero interest or zero desire to add those sweeteners to my coffee. So now I can enjoy coffee in its native state, several cups per day. And I'm actually providing my gut microbiome with polyphenols, healthy acids, and believe it or not, fiber. There's actually soluble fiber in coffee. So it has gone from an unhealthy beverage to a completely healthy beverage. This is my point, is that wherever possible, look, the once in a while treat is not my concern. My concern is the stuff that you're doing on a daily basis. That's where it becomes an issue.
Yeah, it's funny how your taste buds change over time. Like literally before we sat down today, I was getting a haircut and my stylist was telling me, he shocked me when it was like, yeah, man, I went back and I watched a couple of episodes that you did with, what's that doctor's name? He's got that book, Fiber Fueled. I was like, Bulsiewicz? He's like, yeah, I love that guy. I was like, cool. And he starts talking about how because of something you said, he started pulling half and half out of his coffee and now he just drinks it black, but it took him time to get adjusted to it. But he said, I was like, but you know what? Did you find that you kind of have a more sophisticated palate now with the different types of roasts and you have a greater appreciation for the coffee because you're actually tasting the bean now? He's like, yeah, absolutely I do. So, how long do you think it takes the average person to kind of get adapted to getting all of that sweet stuff out of the system so that they then can appreciate coffee, whatever their beverage of choice is? Maybe it's iced tea without all that sweet.
My experience is typically somewhere in the range of 4 to 8 weeks is what it takes a person to sort of start to change their taste buds. And I can't say that this is proven in the microbiome science. There is some animal model stuff that suggests this, but I suspect, Chuck, that it's a shift within our microbiome as our microbiome adapts to a new dietary pattern that actually allows our taste buds to change. Because, by the way, 4 weeks is kind of the range of what we see in terms of making a significant shift within the microbiome. So, like if you remove the half and half, I used to drink the exact same cup of coffee. Half and half, 2 or 3 packs of Splenda. And when you remove the half and half in the Splenda, like the microbes that were thriving on the half and half and the Splenda. They're upset. They're hungry. They want their daily, feeding. And though, meanwhile, the microbes that thrive on the black coffee, they're getting fed, but they haven't really been the majority. They're the minority, and they're starting to come up. So they're rising up. They're growing stronger over the course of 4 weeks. And in this process, those microbes that thrive on Splenda and the half and half, because you haven't been consuming it, they start to become diminished. And so basically, this is how you cause a shift within the microbiome. And this is, I think, the reason why taste buds change in 4 to 8 weeks.
Well, shout out to my guy Gareth at Brit Hairstyle in Southern Maryland. Does a great job.
Next time I'm in town, that's where I'm going.
He got both of your books, man. He didn't just stop with Fiber Fueled Original. He's like, no, man, I'm getting that cookbook too, Jack.
I'll have him cut off my rat tail on the back.
No.
I'm just kidding. I don't have a rat
tail. No. I was like, I'm sorry. This is your last time appearing on the show. If you've got a rat tail, I'm sorry.
It would be cool if I just flipped out a ponytail though, and like totally caught you off guard.
I mean, would it really be cool? Would it?
Because I've been on the show so many times that it would be a total shock.
It would. A shock is right. A shock is a word I will give you. Cool, probably not so much, man. I'm not even sure rat tails were really cool when they were cool. You know what I mean?
Cool is the reaction of a shocked Chuck in front of a live studio audience.
Bro, I just can't with the rat tails. So let's go back. On previous episodes, you've talked about your own. That's the first time that's come up on the show. The rat tail, man. We've talked about the spices that you now carry with you and you put into your cup of coffee, even when you go to Starbucks. Yeah. First of all, remind us of what that simple blend is, and then we'll take it from there because Caroline has a question about that.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, first of all, you want to keep it super simple. Just go with cinnamon. That's a great entry point. Cinnamon pairs so well with coffee. And you can add it however you feel most comfortable. You could put it at the bottom of the cup and then pour the coffee over the cinnamon. You can put the cinnamon in the top, and to stir or not to stir is really your choice. You will taste it more if you don't stir it. Or you can even add it to your brew when you're actually brewing it. So like add it to the coffee grounds and put some cinnamon in there, and you will find that flavor come through. So that's a good starting point. But my holy trinity for spices are cinnamon, ginger, and turmeric. Now, if you were to hypothetically just put ginger or just put turmeric in your coffee, you'd probably be like, it's kind of weird. But when you put these three together, cinnamon, ginger, and turmeric, put them together, there's something about the combination that provides balance. I think the cinnamon has a little bit of a sweetness that offsets the punchiness of both the ginger and the turmeric, and it kind of smooths them out. But the beauty of this is, like, Chuck, you mentioned at the beginning of the show, variety is the spice of life. And I'm here to say, look, variety of spices are good for the microbiome too.
Would you count each of those, the turmeric, the cinnamon, all of that? Would you count each of those also toward, the plant diversity total for the week?
Let me put it to you this way. Chuck. I do want you to add a variety of spices into the mix, as many different spices as possible. I do want you to do that. What I don't want you to do is start like hacking the formula to get to 30 as quickly as possible and then call it quits and say, I've taken care of my gut for the week. Right. So I don't want you doing the 5 or 7 Italian spice blend and being like, ooh, there's seven plant points. Add that to the, 3 points for my coffee this morning, and I'm already at 10. And then when you get to 30, you stop. I don't want you to do that, but I do want you to add as much variety to it. So I am cool with you counting spices as long as you continue to strive higher and higher and higher in terms of your plant diversity, and don't stop at 30.
I'm cool with counting spices too. Still not cool with the rat tail though. Couch this next question from Caroline. We're going to couch this next one with, please work with your primary care physician when you're trying to make some changes to your diet, your health, especially when you start to notice like some things change. Caroline says, I've heard you guys talk a lot about turmeric in the past. It's great for inflammation, but I feel like since I've added that, I've begun to experience some diarrhea and had some abdominal pain. Is there any sort of connection that you're aware of with turmeric and adverse reaction, or could that be more symptomatic of something else that's going on?
Well, it's hard to completely know. Um, obviously, we're not dealing with the entire history here, so we're just sort of giving this basic context. But one of the things that definitely does exist, Chuck, is histamine intolerance. And spices can be a common trigger for people who have histamine intolerance. So it's something I think to be aware of. That I actually covered this topic in great detail in my second book, the Fiber Fueled Cookbook. So if you're trying to figure out, what is causing your digestive symptoms, you're trying to work through that process. That's actually what that book is designed to do, including an entire protocol with recipes to help you figure out if in fact it is histamine intolerance.
All right, let's grab a couple of more here before we wrap things up. Two-parter from Catherine. Number one, has Chuck tried eating a kiwi with a peel on it yet? We were talking about that the other episode when we were holding up the fiber
That's the
fuel.
question, Chuck.
Yeah, no. The answer is no. I've not been able to put on my brave pants yet to try this. I just haven't. I don't know. Maybe it makes me less of a man.
The texture thing?
It just doesn't seem. There are certain things, Dr. B, in life that seem very natural and wholesome and like the right thing to do. And eating a kiwi with the furry skin still on does not seem to me to be one of those things. It
Are you,
just doesn't.
you a picky eater, Chuck?
Am I a picky eater? I can be, but there's right and there's wrong in this life, and I just honestly believe that eating the kiwi with the skin still on, that might fall in the wrong category, bro. It just may for me. It may be right for a lot of other people, but in my personal two buckets, right and wrong, I'm pretty sure the kiwi's going over here with the skin on.
I mean, it's one of these things, Chuck. It's like when people are doing the paleo diet and they're like, I'm not going to eat beans. I'm not going to eat whole grains. I'm like, give those beans, give those whole grains to me. I will gladly take the longer life expectancy, lower risk of heart disease, lower risk of cancer from you. And Chuck, if you don't want your kiwis, pass them to me. I'll eat them skin on, skin off. I'm not a picky eater when it comes to kiwis. I'm a happy man. Although I will say I probably wouldn't bite. So maybe I'm being a little bit picky. I don't know that I would bite into the furry kiwi like that, like whole. I would quarter it. And then by quartering it, I just bite into the top.
Okay, so now like that's a horse of a different color. Okay, because now you're not talking like I've always envisioned biting into it like it's an apple, and I'm just like, no, that's wrong.
What if you cut it into quarters?
Right. If it was a slice or something like that, possibly more palatable. I would definitely be more open to the idea, but I am still not willing on this day to commit to that bit. Just can't say that I'm ready.
Palatable is about the most wishy-washy comment I've ever heard about whether a food is palatable.
I'm couching it. This is true. But it just, I mean, for the love of Pearl, people, I mean, hit me up on Instagram, on Threads now, at Chuck Carroll WLC. Hit up Dr. B there too. Just be like, look, thumbs up, thumbs down with the kiwi with the skin. I don't know. I'm curious to know where the exam roomies fall with all of this, to be perfectly honest with you. I think we're living in a divided country when it comes to the kiwi, my friend.
Let us know, you guys. Let us know what you think about the kiwi. Is it skin on, skin off? Is it no kiwi at all? My thing is kiwis, man. I like them, but apparently not everyone does.
I'm a fan of the kiwi. The skin, man, the skin. But the same way, I cannot see eating an apple without skin either. Right? Got to have the skin on. So the kiwi's just the exact opposite. I don't know. Do what's good for you. I don't know. Maybe we can turn it into a fundraiser. Pony up, and I'll eat the kiwi with the skin. That's pcrm.org/donations. Catherine, here's the second part. Completely unrelated. Does fasting starve both good and bad gut bacteria? That's an interesting one.
Well, I think that your gut needs sort of a scrub cycle in a way. It's an opportunity for your gut to rest and recalibrate. And so now it's hard for me to completely answer this, Chuck, because the microbes are constantly changing, whether we eat, whether we don't eat, and certain microbes within a certain context can be good or bad. So it's there's a lot of complexity to this in a way, but I think at the end of the day, when you look at the metabolic benefits that people receive from time restricted eating, I think like in terms of improved insulin sensitivity, um, less hunger, less cravings, more dietary control. Um, to me, I think that the benefits outweigh any sort of negatives. That's for sure.
All right, final question. I'm on the fence about asking you this one that was sent in by a mutual friend of ours. It's really kind of a landmine question, and I'm not sure how in the world you're going to navigate this. So I'm just going to ask you. Lauren Kretzer went ahead and sent in this question, and she wants to know who, Dr. B, is your favorite recipe developer? Good luck with that. I leave it to you.
Oh gosh, that is a horribly challenging question because I've been blessed to work with some amazing people, and I have different projects with different partners that I've collaborated with. So Lauren Kretzer, I have worked with on a number of projects, including my plant-fed gut masterclass. And I'm quite proud of the evolution of the masterclass, which, by the way, is launching this week. So for anyone who's interested, now is the opportunity to jump on board and join the summertime masterclass. Chuck, I offer it once a year. It's 7 weeks. There's live elements with me. There are live interviews. There are Q&As, but there's also video lessons, audio lessons, journal clubs. There's an entire library of resources. There is an extensive workbook, which is basically like an entire book that I've written. So there's basically like, this is my top course. And as a part of this course, Lauren has developed 27 unique recipes that you will not find anywhere else. And they are spectacular. So all I can say is for those who are interested, come check out the Plant-Fed Gut Masterclass, as you're showing there, Chuck, and hope to see a couple of you in the class of 2023.
Absolutely. And look, we've dropped a link to that registration right now in the show description or in the episode notes if you're listening to the podcast. Absolutely want to link up with that. By the way, Lauren Kretzer is also going to be at the big live show in New York City. If you're watching this on day one, then it's tonight, July 12th in New York City. Lauren Kretzer will be joining us in New York with myself. Dr. Neal Barnard's going to be there. Rip Esselstyn, he's going to be there. Dr. Rob Ostfeld, Dr. Michelle McMacken. So many wonderful people are going to be in attendance that night, man. It's going to be amazing. Bro, I really wish from the bottom of my heart that you could be there as well, man. It would just be an epic night. And you would be the icing on that delicious plant-based cake, bro.
I mean, we have to do it. I definitely think this needs to happen.
I think so too.
Group though, for sure. That's an amazing group of people.
Oh, yeah, man. So look, right below the registration for the masterclass is the link to get your tickets. Maybe we can squeeze one or two more people still in if you're in the New York area. So go on and click that pcrm.org/events or click that link. And definitely want to get in Dr. B's masterclass. And I know the people who have gone through your masterclass, man, I mean, they just rave about it. For anybody to get like 95 to 98% thumbs up, would recommend this, would do it again type reviews. I mean, that's really saying something.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what really ultimately matters to me is like the measure of success is this making an impact? Is this helping people? Would they ask or recommend this to their friend? And what I've consistently had through the years, through the classes that have come through my program, is 95 to 98% of people, the answer is yes, they would recommend to their friend. And then, you know, what I always say in the very beginning is that everyone is going to have their aha moment, and it's just a question of when. And the amazing thing, Chuck, is that that's what this masterclass delivers, is aha moments. People who are finding what they're looking for. They discover it at there is this moment that exists within the course where all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and they discover what they've been missing, what they've been looking for. And that to me is like very, very special. I love when that happens because I get to witness it myself. I'm there as a part of it.
Eureka, baby. And like you went through that transformation with your own diet, so you know what these guys and gals are going through themselves, man, and you know how rewarding it can be once you break through, have that aha moment and come out on the other side, man. It is a rich kind of wonderful.
Yeah, and the gut is so connected to so many facets of what's, sort of critical to our health. I mean, we're talking about obviously digestion, which is access to nutrients, which is like it's our life force. But beyond that, our metabolism, our immune system, our hormones, our mood, our brain health, even the expression of our genetic code. Basically, you are rising the tide. You are rising the tide on human health when you enhance the health of your gut microbiome. And this course is for people of all different types and varieties. Like I said, different people have their aha moments at different times within the course. It's not just this one thing, but I have healthcare practitioners. I have people who have no gut issues, but they just want to be as healthy as possible. I have people who do have gut health issues. And what's exciting is that they all manage to find what they're looking for.
My man. All right. Well, here's the deal again. Masterclass. Click that link. You will not regret it. Guaranteed, my friends. Dr. B, we got a lot more still to talk about, but we're fresh out of time today. So what I want to do is put a pin on the conversation for now. Bring you back again in about a month and we'll ride some more, my man.
Sounds like a plan, Chuck. Thanks, brother.
All right, my man. I appreciate it. Thank you once again, Dr. B, the Gut Health MD, the pharaoh of fiber, just the man with the masterclass and the master plan. Dr. B, be back again. And if we didn't get to your question today, have no fear. I promise you, we see it in the comments. We see it in the chat. We'll save it and do our best to get you an answer on an upcoming episode. Also want to say thank you to the crew behind the scenes for making the magic happen today. And you exam roomies, thank you so very much for hanging out with us and chatting it up, leaving such great questions and participating. You guys are the best as always. And for everyone at the Physicians Committee, I am the weight loss champion, Chuck Carroll. We'll talk to you again very soon, but until then, keep it plant-based.